He was on the 90s All-Decade team, the 2000s All-Decade team, an 11-time Pro Bowler, a 9-time All-Pro, a Ring of Honor member, a Saints Hall of Famer, and Pro Football Hall of Famer. If you haven't guessed by the thumbnail, he is Willie Roaf.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Kearney.
This is Toy Cook.
I'm Randy Mueller.
This is Quinn Early.
I'm Delvin Bro.
I'm Alex Molden.
I'm Jake Cup. And this is Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint.
The Life of a Saint.
Life of a Saint.
Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint. Whodat?
So, Willie, I guess I'll start at the beginning. What was it like for you growing up in Pine Bluff?
It was a lot of fun. Back in the, I was born in the 70s, so back in the early 70s, 80s, organized football and baseball was real big in Arkansas. Troy Hunter is from my high school, the outstanding baseball player, and he went pro in 93, but, we played a lot of sports. Always played football since I was about 10 years old. Organized up until high school and then going to college, but we were very competitive, and kids in the neighborhood loved to get after it, and school was important, but sports was very important to us as a child, especially in that area.
Now, I know in high school you played both basketball and football. What kind of steered you toward playing football beyond high school?
Well, football was what my dad played at Michigan State. And I was taller and thinner in high school. I didn't really get a lot of attention in basketball. I didn't start playing organized to the 7th, 8th grade, but I went to UCA when Scottie Pippen came out and did real good at that basketball camp. And we had a big high school tournament called the King Cotton Classic. They brought it back last year, but back then it was one of the biggest high school tournaments in the country. And Dick Vitale came and talked to us, and we had a game on ESPN against Flint Hill. Flint Hill came. Dunbar from Chicago came. Jason Kidd played in it. Stanley Roberts, J.R. Reed. So we had a lot of Bobby Hurley. A lot of good athletes came to that tournament. But I like both. Basketball was more of a challenge to me, but I'm about 6'5", so I think my height kind of, and I was a power forward, kind of was one of the reasons. And then I got the offer to go play D1 football at Louisiana Tech when they were just going D1. I got that offer before. I had any basketball. Well, I had basketball offers after I left UCA, but that was an NAIA school and some smaller schools. But I got the offer from Louisiana Tech first, and I think that was pretty much most of the decision, to take the football scholarship and go on down to Louisiana Tech and put on weight and see what happens.
So as you're leaving high school, what made you commit to Louisiana Tech? Was it just a scholarship, or were there other factors that kind of went into that decision?
Well, Louisiana Tech was the only offer I had. And then Arkansas State only had 2 offers.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so that
I only had 2 offers in high school, and the Razorbacks asked me to walk on. My dad tried to call Michigan State. My grades were so-so. I did good on the SAT, and now it's going to the ACT. So I did have the grades, but a lot of football teams weren't looking at me as much because I was 225, 230, and I was a lineman. So I was real athletic, but they didn't look at. I guess they weren't looking at the big picture. We had Eric Mitchell, Danny Bradley, Curtis Williams, guys went to OU. So Arkansas was mad. Coach Hatfield and Arkansas was mad at some of the Power 5 guys. Unless you were real good. We had a couple All-State guys who wanted to visit the La Tech before me. Delson Richmond and Trey Reed, they were All-State guys, and they backed out. They accepted the offer to La Tech, and then they went to Arkansas State. Larry Lacewell was there, who worked for the Cowboys. He left and went to the Cowboys soon after that. But the Razorbacks weren't giving guys scholarships from our school because they were mad at some of the real good players that went to Oklahoma in the mid-'80s. So we came out in '88. Our last year was '87, so we kind of took the brunt of that because of what those guys had done. So if you were a tweener, they weren't recruiting us.
Now, you mentioned you were light for a lineman. How did you end up putting on the size that you needed to put on without losing the speed and the quickness?
Well, in high school, I didn't lift weights. I was going straight to basketball, right? So I wasn't lifting a lot of weights. So I never was a big squat guy. So I never was putting a lot of weight on my back. Mm-hmm. But I was real strong in power clean. Power clean, incline, bench, especially incline bench. So when I got to college and I really started working out, I didn't want to work out in high school. I wanted to play basketball. When I got to college, I really hit the weights hard. I really started working on my bench. I'm at a bench 275. By the time I left, I benched 445. I power cleaned 370 from the floor when I left. So really, when I got to college and hit the weights and did the plyometrics and did all the lifting and stuff, I got quicker. So when I was in college at one point, I think I ran like a 4.8 something. I was about 270, 280. So I ran a 4.9 in high school. So by hitting the weight, lifting the weights, doing the drills, because I never lifted weights like that, the weights made me more explosive, more quick. So when I got on the weights and got on the training table, and I was still lean, even when I was 270, 280, I was still real lean, 42-inch waist when I was in college. So I got quicker as I matured and my body filled out, kind of like what my dad went to Michigan State at 215, and he was a 300-pound man. So I filled out late. So as I filled out and my body started to grow, my body filled out to that size. It was just naturally I just gained weight. And I went to college and you're drinking beer and hanging out with the guys. So you're drinking and eating, you're doing stuff that as you get older that I wasn't doing as a young kid.
So like many other guys that played in high school and college, the goal I know was to make it into the NFL, and you were a pretty high prospect going in. What would you say was the biggest obstacle you faced in that road to get to the NFL?
It was, I went to a small school, so looking back on it, our season was over every November. So we played 11 games, 7 on the road, 4 at home. In my 4 years at Louisiana Tech, we didn't lose at home. We were 16-0. Maybe we tied a game. Maybe we were 15. We tied, but we were undefeated. We always played on the road a lot because we were playing the big schools to make money. We were just going to Division I. But our season, we went to the bowl game in '90. Other than that, it was 11 games and our season would be over. I had to adjust to the speed of the game wasn't a problem for me. Mm-hmm. What was the problem with me was understanding those different defenses with those blitz schemes and the length of the season. I wasn't used to playing. By the time when I got to the pros, you had training camp at college for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. When we went to Japan in my rookie year, we went to camp for 5 weeks. I was exhausted by the time we finished camp because I never had that much hitting in football before the season in my life. So I wasn't used to that. And then you have 16 games after that. So it was, my body was, I was so tired. I remember going in our special teams coach office and taking naps because I wasn't used to. I was resting at home. I was getting the rest. My body wasn't used to the length of season and playing the pros because I didn't miss it down my rookie year. So I had to play. So that was the biggest thing. By my second year, I was used to it in '94. But my first year, it was tough because I wasn't used to all the practice, the schedule of the NFL. My body wasn't used to it.
Now, I know going into that '93 draft, the Saints were not toward the top of that draft board. They weren't slotted to pick you. So did you have a preference as far as what team you ultimately went to, or did you not care as long as you were playing in the league?
They told me I was projected 5 to 8. So I thought I may end up going to Detroit. I didn't know. It was Cincinnati, Tampa. Chicago, then Detroit. They traded Pat Swilling, who was all-pro. He was the player of the year, whatever, in the league, and they traded him to Detroit. And the Saints traded him to the 8th pick. And what I told him was between me and Lincoln Kennedy. And they wanted me, and obviously I worked at Louisiana Tech. Lincoln was bigger than me. Lincoln had been a little banged up his senior year. He didn't work out at the combine, so I moved ahead of him. If Lincoln had come out the year before, when they won the Rose Bowl with Impman and those guys, he probably would have been a top 5 pick. But he stayed for his senior year, and he didn't have as good a year. So I worked out the combine and did everything, and I moved ahead of him. So I was very happy I ended up going to the New Orleans Saints, playing at Louisiana Tech, and being from Arkansas. I was very happy about that.
So graduating from Louisiana Tech, you're playing right in Pat Swilling's backyard. You know who Pat Swilling is. So I understand there's got to be some pressure as far as being a first-round pick, even more pressure when you're talking about a team trading up to get you. Was there an even higher sense of pressure knowing that Pat Swilling was traded in order to get you?
Oh, it was pressure. It was pressure for me, too, because prior to me getting drafted, Bob Whitfield was the 8th pick the year before to Atlanta, held out, missed games. He didn't start till the end of the season. All those linemen before that, Charles McRae, and some of them high picks that held out. So they were behind. So my whole thing was, let me get in camp on start on time. They had picked up Tootie Robbins from Green Bay and given him a $500,000 signing bonus. So he was supposed to be the starter at right tackle. I got in camp on time. Camps were hard back then. You did a lot of hitting. Tootie came from a team that didn't do all that banging, and it was his 13th year last year in the league. He had a trick shoulder, so Tootie shoulder messed up. He got set down. He was hurt. So we were going to play in Japan. I started in the American Bowl as a rookie at right tackle. They had given Tootie $500,000. They released him. And then I ended up starting at right tackle. Coach Moore had seen enough. They released him. I started at right tackle, and Tootie went back and played for Green Bay, where he came from for that last year of his career. And I ended up starting the whole year. So my whole deal was, let me get this contract done, let me get on camp on time so I have a chance to play, and I ended up playing the whole season.
So when you arrived to New Orleans, who was it that you kind of gravitated toward to learn what it was like to be a player in the NFL?
I was cool with Richard Cooper and I were good friends. When I first got there, I was at right, he was at left, and I lived in apartments close by. We became friends the next year because I lived around the corner from him. But I kind of looked up to the defensive guys. You got to understand, at that time, they let him go, but I was neighbor with Von Johnson, the linebacker. So Von would call me and say, come here, Rook, and take me places, and I would go pick him up, take him where he wanted me to take him. We lived right down the street from each other in the same apartments. And Ricky Jackson, I looked up to Ricky Jackson, Wayne Martin, Sam Mills. So most of the guys I looked up to on the defensive side of the ball, Jim Wilkes, Frank Warren, all those guys have been there for a long time, and I knew who they were, and they were outstanding football players. On the offensive side of the ball, they didn't have the names were on the defensive side of the ball. You know, you had Eric Martin was on the offensive side of the ball, and Toby Brenner. So I looked up to those guys, mostly the guys on the defensive side of the ball, watched how they go about, how they did stuff every day, you know, and, trying to learn how to be a pro. You know, I was blessed to be a real good athlete, so, you know, I got away with a lot of stuff because of my athletic ability, but, as I got a little older, you know, I learned how to be a pro. Those first years I was such a good athlete, you know, I could get away with some stuff.
Now, I know, as we mentioned, Pat Swilling had been traded for you to come in, but there were still a lot of legends on that Saints defense. What was it like practicing against those guys every day?
It was great. You see, Turnbull played on the other side. And Turnbull was relatively young. He had been in the league for 2 or 3 years at that time. You know, Turnbull was one of those guys, and one of those freaks ahead of time that was about 6'5" and didn't have like 5% body fat. Ronaldo, and he was a real good football player. But going against Ricky Jackson and Wayne Martin every day, that's who I practiced against. And they were two of the best football players on our team. So that's really what helped me get ready. And when they saw me practicing to hold my own with those guys in practice, I think that's when they knew that I was going to be able to play at a high level my rookie year. And Ricky didn't like to hit a lot of practice. But the only thing he put on them little cheerleader little kick and shoulder pads, and he would go hard against me in one-on-one pass rush. But I was practicing hard. I was trying to make a name for myself, and it was like I said, it was tough. And we started 5-0, and after that 5-0 start, Moore didn't want us to get the big head, so he put us back in full pass the next week. And it was hot out there. I remember that it was hot. We played Pittsburgh the week after that bye week, but he had us in full pads out there on a bye week. So I remember we were so tired, instead of us putting on shells and saving your legs, he put us in full pads and it really took the legs out of us for a while. And we didn't win for a little while after that. But we started off 5-0, and I remember it was real hot, and we put on full pads again, which we were still tired for training camp, but we got off to a good start. But I think that sucked the life out of us a little bit when we put on those pads on that bye week. But, I had a good rookie year. My first sack was against Kevin Green. We went to Pittsburgh, the 6th game of the year, and we got beat up there. But, like I said, we got off to a great start, and Wade Wilson was our quarterback. Rest in peace. Wade was a great guy. I know he just passed recently, but Wade was a real good guy. And Wade was our quarterback for that 1 year before he went to Dallas. And then he was backing up at Dallas, and then he became a coach. Derek Kennard, I played beside Derek Kennard. He's a good guy. Derek played my rookie year beside him, and then he went to Dallas and got a ring too. So him and Wade both went to Dallas.
Now, during your career with the Saints, at least, you played under 3 different head coaches. You had Mora, then you had Ditka, you had Haslett. Did your personality or the way you played kind of lend itself more toward one coach or no?
No, the Saints have kind of run I'll say like Belichick runs it. It was more of a family. They tried to have a family vibe in Kansas City. In New Orleans, it was kind of, you come in here, do your job, and you go home and mind your business. You know what I mean? So, Moore was my first coach. Moore was an ex-Marine. So, I had a real good relationship with Paul Bujo left after my rookie year. John Masco was my line coach, and I think he knew how to talk to me and deal with me. So I really blossomed under John Masco. So I would say that John Masco was kind of an introverted coach, and he was just coming into the NFL from Arizona. He had not coached a long time, and he was really good for me. My second, third, before Moore left, and then he left and went to the Rams and coached Orlando Pace, right. And he got a Super Bowl ring on that. He coached him up there. But John Masco was really good for me. He was very detail oriented and about assignments and everything. So, when he got there, I really, he knew how to push me and get me going, and he was a really good coach for me.
Now, you put in a good amount of time with the Saints before they won their first playoff game. What was it like finally overcoming that obstacle and winning that first playoff game in New Orleans?
That was great. I mean, I was just so happy we won the game. But, I've been in New Orleans a while. I've been going through some stuff over the time in New Orleans. So it was kind of time for me to have a change. But I was happy to get that playoff win. Happy for the fans because the Saints have been a couple times and hadn't got the win. So it's great, especially beating the Rams who had won the Super Bowl a year or two before that, the year before that. So to beat them and knock them out the playoffs and then they end up going to the Super Bowl again the next year losing, but to beat them and knock them out the playoffs, the good football team was there. What happened was in '98, Atlanta went to the Super Bowl. And then in '99, the Rams, then we were in the same division. We were like, well, everybody else is doing it. We need to step up. We play these guys all the time, so we stepped up and won that playoff game and then went to Minnesota and got beat. But seeing Atlanta Atlanta and especially the Rams, they turned it around from 4-12 or whatever the year or two before and go to the Super Bowl. To see how they turned it around real quick, it gave everybody in the division confidence that they could be better football teams.
Now, one moment I did want to bring up was that Kyle Turley helmet toss moment. Were you on the field for that?
Yeah, for the Jets player, that was my last year, and I was in and out the lineup because I had a knee injury. Mm-hmm. So I was at the game, but I was not on the field for that game. I was not playing.
And did you have a similar situation in Louisiana Tech where you took somebody's helmet off or something like that?
No, I grabbed Eric Curry's helmet and threw his helmet. Eric Curry had his hand. Eric Curry had a soft cast on his hand. He had his hand up underneath my helmet, and he was rushing me, and I grabbed his helmet and took it off, and the camera got it when I had it up in the air right before I threw it, and that's a famous picture over a lot of people have in Louisiana Tech of me holding the helmet up and I threw it off. Now Turley was a different situation. Right. They were on the quarterback or somebody twitching his head, right, and he threw it off. Mine happened in the battle between me and the defensive end.
So I know it's pretty well chronicled, some of the issues that were going on as you were leaving New Orleans and heading to Kansas City. What ultimately led to the decision to head out and go join the Chiefs?
Well, we have been through three different coaches. I had grown up in New Orleans, but, and a lot of people know, my personal life was kind of put on display, and it wasn't in the best place. And some of that got brought out in New Orleans, and I wasn't happy about that. So when I tore my knee up, and the main thing was my knee was hurt, and I didn't know how bad it was hurt because of what, the way my MRI looked. But I was playing with a torn ACL. So when I went and saw Dr. Andrews after Thanksgiving, they finally had the surgery. It was torn at the top, not in the middle, so it didn't look like it was torn on MRI, but it kept buckling. So I was kind of mad that I had been playing with my knee was torn up. So that was kind of the deciding factor, and me saying that I didn't want to go back there. So after I had the surgery, I came out and told them, I wasn't going to ever play there no more. And, they worked out the trade at the last minute because I had signed a new contract, and they picked up my old contract. So right before the trade deadline, I had to go work out my contract so I could get out of there. So that's what happened.
Now, you played in 189 regular season games. You started every single one of them, all 189. What do you attribute the longevity, the durability? Where does that come from?
I wanted to play 200 games. That's really with playoff games and Pro Bowls, I started 200 games total. I got with Will Shields. Will Shields beat me for the Allen Trophy. So I always looked at Will Shields and gave my career out for him. Will Shields hadn't missed a game since he got his start, and he didn't miss a game in 14 years. So I wanted to come back that last year because I knew I was at about 189 games because I missed about 10. I missed a bunch of games. When I tore my knee up, I missed about 6 games. No, about 9 games, and I missed 6 games in Kansas City. So I missed almost a season. Okay. So I was at 189 games. I wanted to have 200 starts because I came in. When I came in the league, we didn't draft the 7 guys, so I didn't miss, but I didn't miss a down until 3.5 years. So Andy McCullum fell into me, and I sprained my MCL. I think that's when I partially tore my ACL, but my knee used to pop and lock, but it didn't ever give out. But when I got that 3rd-degree sprain on my MCL, I came back. So 93, 94, 95, 96, I finally missed. Before that, I hadn't missed a down. So when I hurt my knee, I missed a down. But I came back. I missed a few games and played. So when I got to Kansas City coming off that injury, the first 2 years there, I didn't miss a start. And then that last year, that's when I missed the 6 games, and I still wouldn't have been. So in my mind, I wanted to get at least 200 starts. But I started 8 Pro Bowls, and I started 3 playoff games. There you go. So I look at it as if I got 200 starts, they don't count the Pro Bowls, but I started all 8 of them, And I started in we played in 3 playoff games. So I look at it like I got 200 starts total. In Kansas City, if we had a blowout, we would get out a little bit. We had those real good offenses. We might get out a quarter, or with me and Will and Priest be out sometimes. So, but most of the time in Kansas City, when I started those 3 years before I got hurt, all of us started the 2 years together before John Tate went to Chicago. Then the next year, all 4 of us started for the whole next year. And then I got hurt the 4th year. The end of the rest of those guys started. So we didn't have guys getting hurt. And out of all those first 3 years in Kansas City, I probably averaged 98% of the snaps for those average on those 3 years.
Now, every time I read a different article about you, I see a different nickname. I got to ask you about some of these. Where does the John Wayne nickname come from?
Well, I got that nickname from college because when I got tired, I would walk sideways and lean to the side. So they called me John Wayne. The team, the coaches called me John Wayne when I got tired. It was hot in wrestling. So interesting story. When I get drafted by the Saints, Coach Moore comes out to practice, sees me in minicamp. Well, it's hot out there. And, when I get tired, I start walking funny, limping around or whatever. So Moore thought I was injured. He said, damn, we done drafted this kid from La Tech, and he's injured. He didn't know if I was hurt or not. He thought I was hurt. But that's how I limped around and looked like until I took out running. So I guess he finally realized that I could run, and I was all right. But when he first saw me, he thought I was hurt.
And how about some of these other nicknames that you've got? Chill Will, Nasty.
Nasty came toward the end of my career in Kansas City. I would mess with guys in the locker room. During the game or practice, if I had to use the bathroom, I would just take a knee with a pee bottle or something. So, the guys used to tease me and call me nasty because of some stuff I did.
What was it like for you growing up with such successful parents?
My parents strive for excellence in education. And my dad, really growing up, my dad never really talked about how good athlete he was, but he was a very good athlete. All-state in football, and that's when Cold Valley did 2 of his class. So my dad hurt his knee in high school, and my uncle was a doctor too. Him and my dad had an office together. My family had backs and knees, bad knees and backs eventually. And I had back surgery after I retired. My dad tore his knee up in college. He tore his ACL. He didn't want to miss class, so he had to hold dummies, and he told that story. But my dad was disciplined and kept his GPA up and went to Howard Dental School. My mom and dad were zoology majors. Then my mom went to law school after I was born and graduated second in her class. And then I had sisters that were girls, honor roll. My oldest went to Harvard and Princeton. And so me and my brothers weren't as disciplined academically. But we wanted to stay outside and play ball and do these things, do this stuff. And my mom would always be on us about our grades. In fact, my sophomore year, my grades slipped some, and my mom came in the gym and took me off the basketball team. But I didn't get to play basketball my sophomore year because I let my grades slip. Now I got them up some after that, but she took me out the gym. And I think that might have hurt me as my development with basketball. But I always tell people, if I had been about 6'7", I'd have kept on playing basketball.
Wow.
The basketball was a challenge, but I was real raw and I was real athletic and I was real quick. And I could handle the ball and shoot a little bit. So if I had been a little taller, I would probably kept on playing basketball. But my mom took me off the team, and then they both stressed academics. So when I got to the NFL, I was happy when I started doing real good that I was drafted high. But when I made the All-Pro teams, and I know especially getting to the Hall, I felt like that I improved at the level of what I did. I got a PhD in football because I achieved a level that very few people get to at that sport. And I was able to accomplish, to get there and become a Hall of Famer. So, my mom was a judge, and, so I feel like that I achieved my level through sports.
Now, as I mentioned in the intro, the list of accolades, which I didn't even get to half of them, is incredible. Who would you say was the biggest influence in you achieving so much throughout your NFL career?
My dad.
Okay.
My dad. My dad was at every game.
Wow.
And my dad missed one game, home game, not on the road. My dad was on the school board. My dad was at all my high school games. He was sitting right by the bench. If we were messing up or doing stuff, he'd come down to the bench, start talking to us, chewing us out, right there during the game. You know, when I was in high school. When I was in Louisiana Tech, my dad, 2 hours, my dad came to every game, every home game. When I got to New Orleans Saints, it's about an 8-hour drive. My dad only missed one game because my brother was playing at University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. My dad was saying my brother was playing a game. That's the only reason my dad missed one football game. When I got traded to Kansas City, it's about 8 hours going up through Fayetteville, through 71, up through Webb City, Missouri. He never missed a game.
Wow.
So my dad only missed one home game the whole time I played. And he would get in the car and drive home and go to work on Monday and be at that dentist office.
Wow.
He was very dedicated to it. And you got to understand, my dad didn't get to play. My dad went to Michigan State. Bubba Smith was up there. His roommate, one of his roommates was Herb Allen, Hall of Famer. Ed Buddy was up there. Wayne Fox, Sherman Lewis. So he was at Michigan State. And I don't know how good he would have been if he didn't tear his knee up. But he played up there on some real good football teams with some real good football players. And he never got a chance to get to that level and really even get to enjoy playing at that level because he was hurt. So he always say to me, God sent me here to finish because he was a good man to finish what he couldn't, what he started. So my dad got to go across that stage with me. My dad went to every Pro Bowl. I would take about 10 people with me. So to Hawaii. So I mean, he went to all 8 of them. He had a great time.
Gotcha.
So I feel like the journey. That's why he enshrined me. We went on that journey together, and that's why he was so proud, and he wanted to go to all the games and be there because he loved football. I mean, when he would come to the games, he would get fired up, and he would wear my jersey every game. And my friends didn't want to sit beside him in the stands in New Orleans because they'd be hitting the chair and hitting people. So they didn't want to get near him because he would get so wrapped up. I think he calmed down as he got older. But he was very, he loved football, and he would tell me like it was after the game, how he felt about the way I played. And like I said, I was so proud that he was there. And that whole journey, we went through that journey together, and that's why he inspired me. But I will tell you this, before I passed away, I met my wife in Kansas City. I was going through a divorce, and, you know, I have 4 kids by 3 women and, you know, a stepdaughter. And my dad was so happy in my life that I had a God-fearing wife, and that my life was coming closer to God as I got older. Because I was living, drinking, hanging out. You know, younger, you know, especially in New Orleans. New Orleans was close to Arkansas, close to Louisiana Tech. So I had all my fellas there, people there, too many people in and out of there. And I maintained and played at a high level. I cut some of that out as I got older, and I had a bad year in 97. I was too big, drinking and doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing. But my dad was so happy with me because I got married. I got 2 daughters living with me. I have stability. I have a daughter here from New Orleans and my other daughter from California. One finishing high school, one finishing college. I have a son at UNO. I have a daughter in Knoxville, my second grandchild. So I'm almost 59. I've matured now, and my dad was more happy about the direction my life is going now before he died than whatever I did on the football field. My dad had it tough. He had 8 brothers and sisters. He was taking care of his sister's kids when he was young. And, you know, he went to Michigan State with $20 in his pocket on a train. And, you know, he wasn't a dad. My dad was a dentist, but he took care of a lot of people, and he made money, but not a lot of money. But he wasn't going to small me and give me a car and everything. When I left high school, he told me it was military. You're going to get a scholarship, but you're going to the military, but you got to get out of here. So, you know, it wasn't going to be a lot of sitting around in Arkansas and that type of stuff. You know, you know, I was going to have to handle my business, and, you know, that's the way it was. That's the way he was raised, and that's the way he wanted me to go off and take care of my business. So gotcha. I was glad. I went to La Tech, and I realized, and I goofed around in school at La Tech, and I had to go to summer school every year when I had to get good grades. I did. But about a time I was a red shirt, by the time I was 19, 20 years old, my line coach, P.D. P-Roll, played in the league. Joe Ferguson was our quarterbacks coach. Isminga was our coordinator. Mike Bob used to come up with the tight end, so they told me, Willie, if you take care of your business, you'll be, drafted very high. You'll have a chance to go pro. When we had guys going pro, Antonio Brown was there, Eddie Brown was there. He tried out. Jerry Douglas played a few years. We had the guys going, but then by the time we came through, we had 4 guys drafted and another one make a team. So they told me if I took care of my business, I was going to have a chance to get drafted real high. And they told me that when I was about 19 years old. And I said, I said, I'm not going to be no 300 pounds. And as I got bigger and faster, I knew it wasn't a lot of guys in the country that could run with me. And it was strong as I was, they quick. So it was just a matter of me being disciplined enough to stay in school, which I'm glad I went back. I was going to leave after my redshirt junior year. And I probably would have gone top 3 rounds, but I'm glad I went back for my senior year. And, going from an independent school, we were 5 and 6. I had a good game against Alabama, and then we were independent. We weren't playing on TV a lot, and being a top 10 pick and run out for the island. So, so I was. If I go to Nebraska, which they didn't run the ball, they ran the ball. All those teams ran the ball. We ran a full-set offense, so we flipped the whole game. So I had to play left and right tackle. So we flipped it. We were athletic, and we threw the ball. So it really helped develop me because a lot of teams were running, and all that stuff back then. And that's probably why he went in the 3rd round because they probably didn't think he was going. The guys didn't know how to pass block because they were in those running systems. We were throwing the ball. Texas always been a throwing school, so
Gotcha.
It really is me. The coordinator at LSU was our coordinator, and he did a real good job. And then we started winning, and they broken up our coaching staffs. But like I said, in '90, that's probably one of the best teams in La Tech history. Eddie Brown, Antonio's dad, and Bobby Slaughter. We went 8-3. We beat Colorado State. We beat Southern Miss, and we tied Maryland in the Independence Bowl. But we were like the number 5 rushing offense. We went to Auburn, and they kicked the field goal to beat us by 2 in '90, and they had the number 5 team in the country. So we were pretty good. We were very balanced. Very good team.
So congratulations, you get to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You get to put on the gold jacket. Who was it that you were most excited to, rub elbows with or spend some time with?
I was most excited. You know what? I was just most excited to, I was most excited to be around those guys. Earl Campbell and Fred Belisnikov. And you hear the stories, those stories, the old-timer stories. Last year, Dick Buckus doesn't come back every year. So sitting with Dick Buckus and I just like sitting with those old guys, hearing what they went through, man. Those old timers and Larry Little and hearing those stories. But I like we check on each other. Larry had a few issues, and Bobby Mitchell, my homeboy from Hot Springs, I call him and see how they doing. If I'm in the area, I go see them. So it's a great. The Hall of Fame is a great bond because we see each other every year. But every year there's a few guys that aren't here anymore, and it's only 150 of us living.
Right.
So you get more younger guys in, and it goes by. I've been here for 7 years now. It goes by fast. But 2 of my class, Cortez is my homeboy. He passed. Jack Butler passed the next year, and 2 of my classmates passed, and Chris Dolman had brain cancer surgery. So you just life is you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So we got to appreciate every day we got on this earth. You understand that?
Absolutely.
It is you got every year about 2 or 3 of them passed last year. So it's funny, you see them up there and they're not up there, which I I've never met Herb Adderley. He's never been back since I've been enshrined. A few of them have never been. I don't know what reason, but I would love to talk. I would love to see Herb Adderley because Herb Adderley was my dad's roommate.
Oh, wow.
You know, and in college for a semester, you know, and my dad was a way better student, but Herb was a great football player. I'm not the first Hall of Fame from my high school. The first Hall of Fame from my high school was in the first ever class to the Hall of Fame, Donald Hudson. And a lot of people don't know that. We need to do something to commemorate Don more in my high school, but Don Hudson was the first from my high school. Went to Alabama, played every sport, track, baseball, center field, and football. And it took Steve Largent almost 20 years to break his record. So I'm the second Hall of Famer from my high school, and we'll potentially have a Hall of Famer in baseball in Toy Hunter.
And one more question about the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you had to pick one person that's not in yet that deserves to be in there, who would you say gets that honor?
I would pick a position that I feel like needs more credit. More guys need to get in the Hall of Fame. It's a lot of players I can say that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that aren't in it. But there's a position I think that needs to get more recognition, but they don't because of what they play. And I would say Tony Richardson, fullback. I say him, and I play with Lorenzo Neal. Both of those guys had great careers. Both of them came to hit their work every week, and both of them had 1,000-yard rush from a bunch of teams and made all-decade teams. But you can't get the Pro Bowls because you're not having the stats.
Right.
But those guys were those fullbacks are the unsung heroes of some of the real good offenses.
Thank you so much for sticking it out, everybody. Who dat to you? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button.